This is the Practical Ethical Hacking Workshop. My name is Drew Batra, and I will be teaching it to you on behalf of First Tech Challenge Team 16598. So how this is going to work is first I'm going to give you a little bit of background, then we're going to go into some Linux basics, and then it's going to be a walkthrough of me hacking a virtual machine. So let's get started. So I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors who make it possible for us to build robots as a part of a First Tech Challenge team. If you don't know, First Tech Challenge is a competition for high schoolers and middle schoolers where we build robots to enter them into yearly games. So I would highly recommend it for anyone who's interested. Speaking of cool robots, you can check out our robots and other cool projects at our social media. Okay, so first things first, little disclaimer. Hacking can be illegal if you do something wrong. So when in doubt, just don't do it, and you have to be very cautious. In fact, for legal reasons, I'm going to recommend you do nothing I say in this video. However, if you are interested, then I would recommend this course to learn more, and this is the one I used, and they'll tell you to help differentiate between what you can do and what you cannot do. So why would you want to learn how to hack? Well, a good reason is penetration testing. So what companies do, obviously you're not going to be able to do this if you're just starting, but maybe at a later time, companies hire white hat hackers, which are friendly people, to do penetration testing on their systems to make sure that bad people are not able to hack them. So we as good people have to go find the vulnerabilities in their systems. So that's one reason. Another reason might be bug bounty programs, whatever. Okay, so what a virtual machine is as a part of safety. So if I open up an email link on my computer and my computer gets infected, then my whole computer is infected. However, if I create a virtual machine, I'm portioning off a part of my computer's resources to create a mini computer within my existing computer. So if I click on a bad email link inside of a virtual machine, only the virtual machine will be infected, and I can just delete the virtual machine. So when you're doing hacking, you're probably going to want to be using a virtual machine. And the operating system on that virtual machine is going to be Kali Linux. So I'll go more into that later. I'm going to just be launching my virtual machines while I'm talking. That way, by the time we're done, they will be good to go because they do have to launch up. Okay, so Kali Linux is an operating system just like Windows, Android, or iOS, except it comes in with a lot of tools pre-installed for white hat hackers and penetration testers. Okay, so what I did is I opened up 2 virtual machines. They're still starting up, but this is the one that has Kali Linux on it, and this is the one that we will be hacking. Okay, so this one's loaded in. So this is basically, like I said, since it's a virtual machine, it is a computer, and this is the computer that we will be hacking into for demonstration purposes. Okay, so this is Kali Linux. Okay, so one thing to note is if you're following a YouTube tutorial or something, always make sure to download the version that the tutorial is running. Otherwise, it'll get a little confusing. So you might want to make sure, pay attention to your version number. Okay, so this is Kali Linux. I think the dragon is a lot cooler than the Windows logo, but whatever. So it's just like any other operating system, right? It's got its file explorer, a browser. Instead of command prompt on Windows, we have a terminal for Linux. Okay. Whatever, I'll figure that out later. Okay, and then we have a text editor, and then we have some tools here. But more important, we have these tools. Okay, so for any type of hacking tool that you might need, you can see that there are a bunch of different tools installed on Kali Linux. So if you need something, chances are it's going to be pre-installed. And if not, you can always just install it yourself. Okay, let's see. Okay, so first, we're going to be going over the basics of Linux. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay. And okay. Okay. All right, looks good. So no, not that one. Okay, so basics of Linux. Okay, so I've opened up the terminal, and first thing I'm going to want to do is find out what my IP address is. So if I do an ifconfig, then this stuff will come up, but this is what is important. Right after the inet, this is my IP address. And one of the things you can do with Linux is that you can ping IP addresses and make sure that they're active. So if I ping my own IP address, it is active, as I would hope out it would be. And you see there's some data transmission. And if I ever want to quit something, I can do Control-C, and that'll quit. Let's see. What else is important for Linux? There is the echo command. So if I echo hello, then the terminal will just say hello back. So that's kind of like the hello world version on here. Let's see. Then we have ls. So ls is to view directories. Okay, so I can go into File Explorer. I can create new text files just like any other normal operating system. But I can also do all that kind of stuff from within my terminal. And this becomes more useful when you're running and deploying scripts and writing them. Okay, so ls, I can see all my different documents and folders. That would be just like if I open up File Explorer. And to create a new file, what I can do is, one way to do it is I can do echo, like we just learned, and I can do hey, except then I do a greater than sign and hey dot, or let's do hey one dot text, since I think I might already have this. And what it will do is it will write that text into hey one dot text, and I just created a new file. So if I do ls, you can see hey one dot text is right there. So if I want to view hey one, I can do cat hey one dot txt, and it will show me what is inside of that text file. Okay, so let's say I want to open up a text editor, right? I can do gedit new file, and it'll open up, a text editor, and I can just type inside of here. Okay, I'm gonna just close that. But one thing that's important to note is that, okay, let's say I want to edit a new file. I can do gedit hey1.txt, but here's the important part. If I put an and symbol at the end, where is it? There, then what it will allow me to do is minimize this and work on this one independently. So if I want to be able to work on multiple windows at the same time, having that and symbol allows me to do multiple processes at once. Okay. I think that's about all for the basics of Linux. Oh, wait, one more thing. If you want to change into different folders, you can do cd. So it's cd into documents. Now, as you can see, I'm inside the documents folder. And I can just view whatever's in the documents folder. So that's the basics of Linux. Okay, let's see what's next. Right, okay, so hacking. The methodology that we are going to be using is, for every computer has different protocols when it's interacting with different computers, right? So how do you interact with different computers? You might have file transferring, emails, web surfing. Each of these different actions uses a different protocol, right? Like FTP, HTTP, or SMTP, right? And each different protocol operates at a port, okay? So computers have these ports open if they're using that port to communicate. And what we can do is we can use these open ports and we can exploit them in order to gain control of a machine. So the focus of this tutorial is going to be information gathering and then exploitation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find out, okay, which ports are open on side of this machine that we're trying to hack. And then we're going to find the version numbers for those different protocols. And once we do that, we can say, okay, this protocol is out of date and someone else released an exploit for it online, and then you just deploy that exploit. You don't have to know how to code your own exploit. You just have to know how to deploy other people's exploits. So I'm going to show you how to find other people's exploits and what you should be looking for. So, but the first step is information gathering. So let's do that. Okay, so I have launched this machine here, right? So the first thing I need is an IP address for it. As you saw before, I pinged an IP address and I was able to, see what was that it was online. So I need the IP address, that way I can target it for some later steps. So since I know that the other machine that I'm trying to hack is on my network, I can do an ARP-scan-L, and that will list all the IP addresses on my network. Okay, so it looks like there's a few here, and you can see that the host is VMware. And I do know that the this machine is hosted by this one here is hosted by VMware. So that means one of these is the IP address of the, or maybe it's all of them, who knows? Of the, no, I think it's one. Okay, of the machine. So I'm just gonna copy one of these here. Let's say this one. Oh, right, forgot. You can't copy and paste with like Control-C, because Control-C will quit inside the terminal, so you have to use your mouse. So let's say if I ping this one, then all right, it looks like it's online. So all right, so we have an IP address. Now what we're going to do is we're going to scan that IP address. Okay, so if I do nmap and then I do paste, and I have so nmap and then the IP address. Nmap is very important. What it will do is it will find me, okay, this is the list of open ports: SSH, HTTP, SMB. There's a few here, right? However, I want more information than this. What we were trying to do is we're trying to get the version numbers and stuff like that, right? So we have this more specific nmap command here. Here, copy, paste. And this -T4-P-A is a set of like filters that expands the search radius, kind of. So it's starting an nmap. That will take a while, but luckily I did this last night, so I have the scan already. Okay, so this is what the scan results in. So rather than waiting for it, I'm just going to break it down here, and also this version is annotated. So let's start at the top. We have an nmap scan going, and it says, okay, port 22 is open, and it's running SSH, which and it gives the version number here. So we have open SSH 2.9P2. So now we know the version number of the SSH. We know for HTTP, it has a Apache, so that means it's an Apache web server on 1.3.2, and it's doing Red Hat Linux. We know the mod SSL version number now and the Open SSL version number now. And we also know, just from looking at this, that it's running SMB, which is another protocol. And then we also, it says here what the operating system is for that machine, and it looks like it's Linux 2.4 point something. It doesn't know, and this last one here is an estimate. So okay, we've got a little bit of information here about the different version numbers. So let's dig a little deeper. Normally what you would do is you look at every open port and you do your research on them and try to find more information. However, for the purpose of time, I think I'm going to only look into the HTTP. Yeah, we're going to only look at the HTTP port, port 80, right? So we have some information here. We're going to dig deeper into that. Okay, so here, let me just. Okay, so here. Okay, so we know that there is a web server because it has the HTTP port open. So if I just launch my browser here and I paste, is that still okay? So it's here. Let me just put the IP address. So if I put the IP address in, okay, look, you can see that there's a default web page that comes up. So this confirms that there is a web server that the machine has. So this right here would be a finding on a penetration testing report. You are not supposed to be able to see this. Like if I go to another website, Tesla.com, for example, it'll take a while, but anyway, so the point is, if I go to different tabs, I can navigate the website. However, what's publicly accessible isn't all the, that's not the only website or web pages, subdomains that are on the website. So if you're able to access more than that, like they might say tesla.com/admin or something like that, right? There's more web pages that aren't accessible through just navigating the site. And this is one of those pages. So from this page, we again confirm Red Hat Linux, and Apache. So, right, let's see what else we can do here. whenever you see port 8080, the first thing you should think is NICTO. So NICTO is a web vulnerability scanner. So if I'll just copy this one. Here we go. Okay, copy and paste. There we go. So NICTO-H, and then it has the HTTP and the IP address. So one thing to note is sometimes if you do HTTPS, it won't work. Sometimes if you do HTTP, it will not work. So you should try both just to be safe. And look at that. Since there was a web server, it is looking at it with the NICTO scan, and we're getting a lot of information here. So let's break that down. Okay. So this is the Nmap scan. This is the NICTO scan. Okay. So when we get our NICTO scan back, this is what's going to show up. And just looking at it, you can see that this is the target IP address. This was our victim. Then we have the server. It's Apache. Again, now we have the version number again, 1.3.2. And then we get the mod SSL version, OpenSSL version here. And then here's the good stuff. So right off the bat, it's saying that there are some things that are out of date. So here it says mod SSL 2.8.4 is outdated. The current is 2.8.3. So that's not that much. So that might not have anything. But this one right here, Apache 1.3.2 is out of date, and the current is 2.4. So we're looking for these big jumps because the farther back it is, the more likely there are vulnerabilities for that version that have not been patched. Okay, so again, OpenSSL seems outdated, and then right here we have some things that the NICTO scan is suggesting for you. So it's saying that that this web server, this version it's on, the Apache, is vulnerable to a denial of service attack. However, I'm not going to show you how to do that because whenever you're doing penetration testings, oftentimes denial of service attacks are out of scope. That means they don't want you to do it. So sometimes what these penetration testing people and these bug bounty programs will do is company offering the program will say, okay, I want you as a penetration tester to test, for example, Tesla.com, but I do not want you to test Tesla.us, right? So they'll give you specific things that are in scope and specific things that are out of scope. And usually denial of service attacks are out of scope. So that's right off the bat. I can't really go anywhere with that. Okay, so it says that it's vulnerable to a buffer overflow. We could probably maybe do that. But this one's the one that looks the most promising. It says that you do this stuff and it will result in a remote shell. So that's very cool. All right, so let's see. We have some information. Okay, Wappalizer. So we're almost done with the information gathering stage. Just bear with me here. Okay. So if I go to my web page here, I can use Wappalizer. Wappalizer is a Chrome extension, and it gives me some of the version info. So again, we have the Apache OpenSSL mod SSL versions, but by now we already know all this stuff, so it's not really much use. Let's see. Okay. So next, now that we have done all our research, so this is all the stuff that we found so far down here, right? We know all the version numbers. So now it's as easy as where is it? Kali Linux? Yeah. Just going in and finding exploits for those version numbers. Okay, so I have my browser open. So we know that the version of the mod SSL is 2.8.4. So all we got to do is Google an exploit for that version. Okay, so it's the first thing that comes up is exploit database. So one thing to be careful of is even in your excitement to deploy something, you don't want to just download random stuff because for all you know, it could be a virus. But exploit database is reputable, so it's probably fine. But just keep that in mind. You have to be cautious. All right, let's see what's next. So this is maybe all right. That's promising. And let's see Apache version here. Here. And okay, CVE details. This is also a really good website. So what it does is it will You see the version, it has Apache, HTTP 1.3.2, that's us, right? Except, or well, the target, and it will list out all the vulnerabilities. So it looks like there's mostly green, yellows, and oranges. If I saw any reds, I'd be excited. That's a critical vulnerability, and that's something we can definitely use, but no reds here, so we're gonna move on. Let's see what's next. Samba. All right, Samba 2.2.A. All right, so if I just paste that in. And okay, so Rapid 7, that gets me excited because there is a tool baked into Kali Linux called Metasploit. And Metasploit is kind of like your jack of all trades tool. You can use it for so many things. And you know how I previously mentioned that you might have to download scripts to run in order to access machines. Kali Linux already has a bunch of different payloads that you can do that's available on Metasploit, the tool. So if it's on rapid7.com, that means that I know it's already installed in, it's already available on Metasploit. So Rapid7, that's great. It's nice and easy to use. So that's why I got excited when I saw this, because now I know that this trans2 open is available on the Metasploit tool. So if I just look down here, it says, okay, so Samba versions 2.2.0.2 to that, right? So that seems good. And yeah, all right, so this looks like it could probably work. So let's get into that. All right, so I'm just gonna open up my terminal here, and then I can do search exploit. So search exploit is, you know how we use Google and we look for vulnerabilities, right? Another way you can do that is you can use the baked-in tools from Kali Linux, and you can do search exploit. So it will search for exploits. So I can do mod SSL 2.8.4 right here, and I just paste it in. However, something to know, if you're using search exploit, it will search for the exact string. So it will search exactly for mod SSL 2.8.4 in its database. So you might want to be a little bit less specific, and you'll see why in a second. So you see it's giving you some ranges here, like less than 2.8.7. So if I had searched for 2.8.4, I would have gotten only one result. So that's why we want to be a little bit broad, and we don't want to be too specific. So, okay, so it says that this is, you know, an exploit that you can possibly use. But I mean, I kind of like trans2 open. That looks pretty promising. So let's do search exploit. Here, let's say mod SSL 2. I think that was the one that had it, right? Mod SSL 2. Paste. And let's see. Trend. Wait, where is it? Let's see. Okay, so we're getting some other stuff, but I think we're just going to stick with trans2 open. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up Metasploit, and how you do that is you do MSF console, and what it will MSF console. There we go. Okay, I just spelled it wrong, I guess. Yeah, I did that. Okay, so that'll launch up, and as I mentioned before, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with Metasploit. You can launch exploits, and after you gain access to the computer, there are some stuff that you can do post with it too. So let's see. Now that we have Metasploit open, what's really cool about Metasploit is this little graphic up here. It changes every time. So let's see. Okay, but beyond the cool graphic, Metasploit, right? Okay, so we're going to search for trans2 open. So I know that this exists because I saw it on Google on the Rapid7 website. And now it's giving me some options for some different operating systems. Like, all right, 1 is for Linux, 2 is for macOS, 3 is for Solaris. Okay, so since we did our due diligence, we did our research, we know that this operating system is using Linux. So all I got to do is use 1. And it opened up the exploit for Linux. So now what we have to do is we have to set the target. Who is the exploit going to? So I'm going to do options and set our hosts to the ARP IP address of the target. Okay, set our hosts. And I'm just going to go options again to confirm that the R host has been set. And then all I got to do is type exploit. Okay, So now that's running. And let's see. Okay, so it's opening up sessions, but then it's also closing them. So you see session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4, right? It's opening up and closing. So it looks like this is not working. So I'm just going to Control C and exit out of that. All right, now I know that exploit, it didn't work, but hold on. Before we move on to something else, something we should try. We go into options, payload options. This was not here before. So something about payloads. Okay, so these are my notes. Anyway, so what's important is that there are 2 different types of payloads, non-staged and staged payloads. So the non-staged payloads, they send in all the shellcode all at once. However, the staged, it sends it in stages. So if one doesn't work, then we can just try the other version. So you can see that this is the payload that we were previously using. And the last separator here between from interpreter is a /. So that means that this is a staged payload. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try a unstaged payload. So I'm going to set payload, and oh no, I don't know what payload to use. Let's see, because I didn't memorize it, right? It's impossible since there's a huge database. So what you do is you can set payload Linux, right? I know the operating system. I can tab, and it'll autocomplete. And I press tab again, and it will give me all the possible ones I can use. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're looking for a unstaged payload, and that means that right after the last one, there is an underscore and not a /. So that means it is a unstaged payload. So let's see, set payload to, I think I copied the right one in advance. Here it is. There, okay. Copy, okay. So now I'm just gonna Control C and Control paste. Okay, so I'm setting the payload, and it has set the payload to the unstaged one. So options. Okay, options, and then I decided to exploit. All right, let's see if that works. Okay, all right, yeah, it looks like that worked. So we can confirm by typing root. Okay. Okay, who am I? Root. Okay. Oh, I got it confused. Okay, so you type who am I, and it's saying, okay, I am root. So that means that we have gained root access to Keyoptrix level 1, which is the box. So what we have just done is we have rooted the machine. We have gained the highest level of access that we can for a computer. So you've successfully hacked it. All right, so that's all I had planned. So does anyone have any questions? All right, no? Okay, cool. Well, have a good day, everyone, and I hope to see you at another one of our events.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good day.